Why do I look like I'm looking up? Am I ready to go?
Yep.
Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome. First, I'd like to start off by just saying thank you to everybody. Since our last meeting and we introduced the option of absences, I'm happy to report that no family members have taken their loved one out. The only time someone has gone out is for an appointment. So I just feel like, you know, between the staff and yourselves and management, we're working really well together, and it's really appreciated. I will say that I was on a webinar today with some of the ministry people, and they assured us that they are looking very carefully at the absences policy and working with the chief medical officer to change things, and especially with Thanksgiving coming up. So I feel like by the end of the week, there will be some new directive out, basically stating that residents should remain in the building. So I'm just putting that out and letting you know, and I know Thanksgiving is coming up. We have planned a very special Thanksgiving dinner for the residents, knowing that we can't do the usual where we get together and have Thanksgiving with families. The Family Council is going to be buying some beautiful table arrangements, and just, you know, we'll just make it as special as we can, and we just appreciate your understanding of that. So I wanted to share some statistics with you. I just thought this was interesting, and I asked Amy to put them together. So since this all started in March, we've had FaceTime, phone calls, Facebook, and Skype. We've had essential caregivers and designated caregivers. We have outdoor visits, indoor visits, and window visits. So just going quickly through the statistics, starting in March, we had 28 FaceTime, phone, Facebook, Skype. April, we had 71, and we had 7 window visits. In May, we went to 42 FaceTime, phone, or Facebook, and 23 window visits. In June, we had 36 FaceTime, phone, and 3 outdoor visits, and 21 window visits. And then in July, we had 63 FaceTime or Skype phones. We had 25 visits for essential caregivers, 30 outdoor visits, 9 indoor visits, and 29 window visits. August, again, 49 Facebook, phone, etc. 61 essential caregiver, designated caregivers coming in. 44 outdoor visits, 51 indoor visits, and 25 window visits. September, 42 FaceTime, phone, etc. 67 essential caregiver, outdoors 23, indoor 35, and window visits 64. That's a lot of work Amy has been doing, mostly Amy, and also Jen, in terms of scheduling and organizing. So as you can see, we weren't given additional funding for any of this. So we've had to add this on top of everybody else's job. So it brings me to a point that I want to make. Families call to set up a visit, and often you're not showing up on time. And I understand five minutes here or there, but it's sometimes 15 minutes, half an hour or more. And that's a problem for us, because when we schedule the visits, we have to schedule a screener. So the screener is oftentimes sitting waiting for the person who's booked a visit, and the person is late. The screener can't leave and go and do their other duties, the other work that they have to do, because they have to keep an eye on the front desk waiting for the individual to come. So I'm sure you're probably not thinking about the fact that these people that are doing this have other work to do as well. So I don't want to see the staff that come to my office and they go, oh, it's been 10 minutes. I need to get back to work and I'm not doing anything and they haven't shown up. So if you could just please make an effort to be on time when you're making your your visits. I really don't want to say that after 15 minutes your visit's canceled, you show up at the door and we don't let you in. We're not that kind of organization. So I just want to put a plea out to everybody to come on time. Thank you. Starting tomorrow, we're increasing our PPE protocols again, given the fact that there's the growth in the community, and then the terrible news from Simcoe Manor, where they have 27 residents, 7 staff, and I think 4 deaths so far. So we thought it was time to go back to some of the more stringent measures we had in place. So staff, as of tomorrow, will be wearing either goggles or a face shield. We will be cohorting staff. Residents have been kept cohorted, but now staff will be. So staff will be asked not to cross from one care center to another. Staff are also being asked to wear street clothes to work and to change into their uniforms once they're at work, and then to change before they leave. So those are some of the new protocols, or they're not new, but some of the protocols that we're putting back into place, because we just feel a little bit uncomfortable, especially about hearing about Simcoe Manor. We just completed another round of testing on yesterday, so we haven't had our results yet. And again, the ministry has, in all their wisdom, revised the visitor policy, and I sent it out to everybody in my email yesterday. The areas of where there's change are marked in red. And as you can see, this is the 5th revision of this particular policy. And I'll just highlight on page 2. They have, as you probably heard, they are identifying regions where there's higher community spread. So that is Toronto, Ottawa, and Peel. And at this point in time, it doesn't include Simcoe, so that's not we're not part of that at this point in time. So we can still continue with the indoor visits. However, it's very important that caregivers and general visitors read the new policy. It's actually required by the ministry by October 7th, which is today, which is why I sent it to you yesterday. We didn't get the information until Monday, so we changed it Monday night, got it to you Tuesday, and by today, you have to have read the new policy before you come in to visit your loved one. And that's per the ministry guidelines. So if you have any questions about it, please ask, and there's always a copy at the front desk. What else? So in looking at what has changed, the visitation booths that are outdoors, we were thinking of stopping them after Thanksgiving, but we're actually going to wait and see what the weather's like, because there's supposed to be some nice days. If there's nice days, then we'd like you still to be able to do an outdoor visit if that's what you want. So it will be very weather dependent in terms of the outdoor visits going forward. So one of the big changes that I want to talk to you about is that caregivers no longer have to make an appointment and can no longer have to have a certain length of time where they stay. So this is not indoor visits. This is specifically caregivers. So here's the problem that is for us. In a large home, they probably have full-time screeners. We do not. We have screeners for specific times when the staff is coming and going, and then we have a screener when we know someone is coming to visit. If you start just coming in and not contacting Amy, which is your right, according to the ministry's new guidelines, you would have to, there may not be somebody at the desk, you would have to ring the buzzer, and then you may end up having to wait until somebody has the time to come and screen you. So if we could continue, because we have such a good relationship, if we could just continue with you letting Amy know when you're coming so that we can have the screener there and available for you, we would really appreciate that. The nurse may not be able to leave the floor. She may be doing a med pass. You may be waiting a really long time. So it just makes more sense if you could just let us know when you're planning, when the caregivers are planning to come in. Visitors still have to book. The other change from the ministry is in relation to non-compliance of this particular policy. And I don't really want to spend a lot of time going over it. You can read it. We've had no issues, and I really don't think we will. As I said, we have amazing family members who understand that these rules are in place for a reason, to protect the staff themselves and the residents. So I think perhaps in other homes, they were experiencing issues and they've got feedback where they needed to change things. But I've, maybe one or two people, I have to remind them to keep their mask up. But that's, to me, that's not a non-compliance. That's just, I think we all do that. So that would be greatly appreciated if you could just remember those rules that are there. So I just want to talk about one of the things we've been told by the ministry in directive number 3 is that we have to have an 8-week supply of PPE. So if we were to go into outbreak and our supplies got down to a 7-day, where we only had 7-day supply, we would not be able to provide family members with masks, which would mean that you would not be able to come in. I'm hoping that would never happen, but that's just something that they've introduced as well. So we're looking at trying to find places where we can stockpile PPE for 8-week period. The other change is to caregivers. A maximum of 2 caregivers are allowed to visit a resident at a time where the area has not been identified as having higher community spread and where the home is not in an outbreak or the resident is not self-isolating. However, if we were in an outbreak or the resident was self-isolating, there can be one essential caregiver that can come in. So even if we're in an outbreak, a family member could come in or a loved one. And that just goes on to say during the identified visiting hours, caregivers may not require scheduling, but we're just asking that you work with us on that particular one. I'm on page 10. It just keeps talking about today's date, how important it is that you've read and understand this particular policy. Indoor and outdoor visits, we just need to consider our ability to manage, which has not been a problem to date. On page 13, BRHD is responsible for providing surgical procedure masks for general visitors for indoor visits. BRHD will avoid accessing our provincial pandemic stockpile for this purpose, which is a 7-day supply. If BRHD is unable to provide sufficient PPE, no family visitors will be permitted inside the home. Essential visitors who are provided with appropriate PPE may enter the home. And again, all this stuff you can read. Another thing that we've added to the policy, and you should really go online, is there's 3 videos. They're really short. They're like 1 minute in length. And it's about putting on and taking off personal protective equipment, on how to wash your hands. I know we all know how to wash our hands, but these are still things that you should review as part of your coming into the home. So one of the things that we've decided to do, and I know we already have some caregivers coming in and we will be following up with them, but we're actually going to start doing a little bit of training with our caregivers. They will be filling out a caregiver form, which just gives us the name of the resident, the name of the caregiver, what activities you'll be doing, the training that we need to provide for you, and the permission by the resident or the substitute decision maker. And so we'll be getting in touch with with the caregivers that are already in place. And if we have new people coming on board, you'll be getting this training as well. I did find an email in my junk mail, and I have to admit that I don't look there very often, and it sat there for a couple of weeks, and it was from a family member who made a really good point. And so we've put something into place to correct the issue that he brought to my attention. So, and the issue was we set the tables, and we have a lot of residents that wander and they touch things. So there's a concern about infection control. So to improve infection control measures, we're now getting the PSWs, or the resident care aides, to set the tables for lunch and dinner at the time that the resident comes. So the table won't be preset, it will be set as the residents arrive. Breakfast is okay because people are just brought down and brought to their breakfast, to their spot, whereas at lunch and dinner, the residents could be in their wheelchairs and they could be scooching around. So we've developed a place setting template so that the staff know what to put out where, and that was implemented on Monday, October the 5th. And thank you to that individual who pointed that out to us. And I'm sorry it took so long to respond. I don't know why it ended up in the junk mail. When you come to visit, and I know when I'm talking about our visitor policy and I talk about designated caregivers and support workers and indoor visits, and of course we still have our absences, we have this cheat sheet that we use to help us figure out who's allowed to do what. And this is at the front desk, and you're more than welcome to look at it anytime you want. So we have been getting some funding from the government for pandemic purposes. However, economy of scale, it's not a whole lot of money, and there are a number of items that we're looking to purchase in preparation really for an outbreak is what we're looking at. So we're looking at purchasing items such as stools where you sit on to help when you're helping a resident eat their dinner. We're looking at buying plastic shields so that we can take things off residents' walls and put them inside something that we can sanitize. We're looking for what's it called? Cubby holes for the staff to be able to put their shields in, and they're quite expensive. So if you're looking at coming to the end of the year and you're looking to make donations, we do provide income tax receipts, and we'd be happy, if you wanted to make a donation so that we could purchase the pandemic items that we need to have ready. And sorry, somebody's. So I think that's pretty much everything that I had to share with you for today. And we have actually, okay, so we have a bell that sits on the table, on the screening table. So if there isn't a screener and someone is leaving, they can ring the bell and one of the managers will come down the hallway. We have a buzzer, so a bell is not going to make much difference. The buzzer is going to go to the care center. If the care center's people are busy, then they're not going to be buzzing you in until they can send someone down to scan you. So I'm not quite sure if that answers that particular question. Are there any other questions? Does anybody have any? Right. Okay, so I just, to see if there are any more questions, I just want to bring up before the pandemic started, we were looking at doing a memorial garden with trees that the city said we had to plant, and we came up with the idea of doing memorial plaques. that got put on hold because of COVID. I actually told the city of Barrie we would have completed by last May. So probably we're looking at doing that by the end of 2021 May. So we will be shortly sending out information so we can get that going and be ready to put the trees in the ground next year, hoping that COVID goes away. So. Okay, well, there doesn't seem to be any questions. Please remember, you can email me anytime. You can call Amy. And again, happy Thanksgiving. I hope that you get to spend time somehow or another with loved ones, whether that's FaceTiming them or Skyping them, and that you stay within your bubble and that you keep safe. Where is the copy of the new visitor rules at the front desk? Too small for me to read on my email. Oh, you can just ask for a copy and we'll just give you a copy. There's one copy on the desk right now. I'll get Amy to put a couple more there, and then you can just pick it up. So it will be the revised policy of October 7th, 20. That's the one you're looking for. Okay. I think we're done. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon. Oh, sorry, one more thing, important. I did send out a form that you could fill out if you were willing to volunteer if we got into a crisis outbreak situation where we could get volunteers to come in and work with the residents that don't have COVID. I haven't really received any response, although I know people have mentioned it to me. So I would like to begin putting together a plan for the worst case scenario. So that information would be really helpful. Thank you.